My strongest memory is not a memory. It's something I imagined, then came to remember as if it had happened. Me and my brother had conjured our own versions, with gunfire and shouts. Mine had crickets. That's the sound I hear as my family huddles in the kitchen, lights off, hiding from the feds who surround the house. A woman reaches for a glass of water, and her silhouette is lighted by the moon. A shot echoes like a lash of a whip, and she falls. A year after my father told us that story, we gathered around him to hear him read aloud from Isaiah.
Butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. Isaiah doesn't say which is evil, butter or honey, but if you ask the Lord, he will tell you.
The next morning, Dad purged the house of milk, butter, and cheese, and then left with his truck loaded with 50 gallons of honey. After my dad took up preaching against milk, Grandma jammed her fridge full of it. Every morning, my family sat around the table and ate either 7-grain cereal with honey and molasses or 7-grain pancakes with honey and molasses. I didn't mind the cereal if I could soak it in milk, letting the cream gather up the grist and seep into the pellets, but since the revelation, we'd been having it with water. It was like eating a bowl of mud. I got in the habit of skipping breakfast each morning, going around the barn, down the hill, and slipping through Grandma's side door.
How would you like to go to school?
I wouldn't like it.
How do you know? You ain't never tried it. We're leaving tomorrow for Arizona. Get yourself up real early around 5 and we'll take you with us. Put you in school.
Dad said I could go?
No, Bull will be long gone by the time he realizes you're missing. You should be in school.
Won't Dad just make you bring me back?
Your dad can't make me do a damn thing. If he wants you, he'll have to come get you. I talked to him yesterday. He won't be able to fetch you back for a long while.
I'll need to feed the animals before we go. He'll notice for sure if the cows break through the fence looking for water. I didn't sleep that night. At 4, I stood and put my boots by the back door. I imagined what would happen when my family discovered I was missing. It's likely they wouldn't notice until sundown when I didn't come home for dinner. I pictured my brother searching for me. He'd try the junkyard first, then move outward, sweeping the farm. Finally, he'd turn to the mountain. I imagined my brother walking over the mountain, searching the black forests. No one would talk. Everyone's thoughts would be the same. In the valley, you'd find an injured animal. On the mountain, a dead one. I imagined Mother standing by the back door, her eyes sweeping the ridge, when my father came home to tell her they hadn't found me. My mother would say Grandma had left that morning for Arizona. Those words would hang in the air, then everyone would know where I'd gone. One evening, Dad was uneasy when he came in from the junkyard.
We have to get everything in order. There's little time.
We spent the next day boiling and skinning peaches.
It's not enough.
That night, Dad called a family meeting.
There's a family not far from here. They're freedom fighters. They wouldn't let the government brainwash their kids in public school, so the feds came after them. Surrounded the family's cabin, kept them locked in there for weeks. When a hungry child, a little boy, snuck out to get food, they shot him dead. They're still in the cabin. They keep the lights off and they crawl on the floor, away from the doors and windows. Might be they starve before the Fed gets up.
Can we help?
No, nobody can. They're trapped in their own home, but they got their guns. You can bet that's why the feds haven't charged in. We can't help them, but we can help ourselves. When they come to Buck's Peak, we'll be ready.
That night, Dad dragged up some old army bags from the basement.
These are our head for the hills bags.
We spent that night packing them with supplies. I practiced slipping the bag onto my back and running with it. I didn't want to be left behind. A few days later, Dad came home with more than a dozen military surplus rifles. My brother chose one and dug a hole in the front yard. He dropped the rifle into it. I watched him cover it with dirt. Soon after, Dad came home with a machine to manufacture bullets from spent cartridges.
Randy Weaver's been shot. He left the cabin to fetch his son's body and the feds shot him. His wife heard the shot, ran to the window holding their baby. Then came the second shot.
Dad never told us the end of the story. Perhaps he never learned how it ended himself. The last thing I remember him saying about it was,
"Next time, it could be us."
It was almost 5 a.m. I returned to my room, head full of crickets and gunfire. I sat in my bed and looked out the window. At 7, Grandma appeared, and I watched her pace back and forth on our patio, gazing up at the house. Then she drove away. I got out of bed and went outside, where I was greeted by Luke's horse. The princess was always brightest in the spring. It was autumn now, and she was fading, but I could still see her. Soon it would snow, burying the princess until spring, when she would reappear watchful.